The morning sun cast long shadows across the courtyard of Buckingham Palace as Princess Charlotte adjusted the delicate fabric of her new dress. At 8 years old, she had already learned the importance of looking perfect for public appearances, but today felt different. Today marked her first solo charity event, a milestone that had been planned for months. The powder blue dress, adorned with intricate embroidered flowers, had been specially commissioned for this occasion. It represented more than just clothing. It symbolized Charlotte's growing role within the royal family and her transition from a protected child to a young princess with public duties. The designers had spent weeks perfecting every detail, ensuring the dress would photograph beautifully while allowing Charlotte to move comfortably during her visit to the Children's Hospital. Royal Guard Captain James Morrison stood at attention near the palace entrance, his trained eyes scanning the preparations. At 35, he had served the royal family for over a decade, but his assignment to Princess Charlotte's security detail was relatively new. He took pride in his discretion and professionalism, understanding that protecting the young princess required a delicate balance between vigilance and allowing her to experience normal childhood moments. The Queen Consort Camilla arrived early that morning, her presence immediately commanding attention from the palace staff. She wore an elegant cream-colored coat with matching accessories, every detail of her appearance carefully curated by her styling team. Her relationship with the younger royals had evolved over the years, though palace insiders often whispered about the complexities of blended family dynamics within the monarchy. Charlotte's governess, Mrs. Sarah Wellington, had spent the previous hour going over the day's schedule with the princess. They practiced the proper way to receive flowers from children, how to engage in brief conversations without appearing rushed, and the importance of maintaining composure even if unexpected situations arose. Charlotte listened intently, her natural curiosity about people making her genuinely excited about meeting the hospital patients. The Children's Hospital had been preparing for weeks for the royal visit. Staff members had rehearsed their greetings, young patients had made special artwork to present to the princess, and the media had been briefed on the designated photography areas. This visit represented hope for many families dealing with serious illnesses, and the hospital's public relations team understood the significance of every detail going perfectly. As the morning progressed, tension began building among the palace staff. The Queen Consort had been observed having several private conversations with senior advisors, her expression growing increasingly serious. Palace sources later revealed that she had been concerned about the appropriateness of Charlotte taking on such a prominent role at such a young age, feeling that the pressure might be overwhelming for the child. Captain Morrison noticed the subtle changes in atmosphere as he coordinated with other security personnel. His training had taught him to read people's body language and detect underlying tensions that might affect the safety and success of royal engagements. He made a mental note to stay particularly alert throughout the day, understanding that emotional stress among family members could create unpredictable situations. The princess's stylist made final adjustments to Charlotte's appearance, ensuring that every aspect of her presentation met royal standards. The young girl stood patiently as her hair was arranged in a simple but elegant style that would complement the dress while allowing her to move naturally during interactions with the children. Her shoes had been specially fitted to ensure comfort during the extended standing and walking required for the visit. Meanwhile, the Queen Consort's own preparations continued in another wing of the palace. Her lady-in-waiting had noticed an unusual sharpness in Camilla's demeanor, though the experienced staff member diplomatically avoided commenting on the obvious tension. Years of royal service had taught the palace employees to maintain professional silence even when they sensed brewing conflicts within the family. The motorcade assembly began precisely on schedule, with each vehicle's position carefully planned to ensure maximum security and efficiency. Captain Morrison conducted a final briefing with his team, emphasizing the importance of maintaining protective positions while allowing the princess freedom to interact naturally with the hospital staff and patients. The balance between security and accessibility remained a constant challenge in royal protection work. Charlotte's excitement was evident as she waited in the palace's formal drawing room, occasionally practicing her curtsy and going over the names of the hospital administrators she would meet. Her natural charm and genuine interest in helping others had made her a favorite among palace staff, who often commented on her remarkable composure for someone so young. The final preparations included a detailed review of the media arrangements. Photographers and journalists had been positioned at specific locations within the hospital, with strict guidelines about which areas would be accessible and which would remain private. The Royal Press Office had worked closely with the hospital's communications team to ensure that the focus remained on the charitable cause rather than creating a spectacle. As departure time approached, the Queen Consort joined Charlotte in the drawing room. The contrast between the two generations was striking. Charlotte's youthful enthusiasm and Camilla's seasoned royal bearing created an interesting dynamic that would soon be tested in ways no one could have anticipated. The palace's head of protocol made one final check of the timeline, confirming that every aspect of the visit had been coordinated with precision. From the moment they would arrive at the hospital until their return to Buckingham Palace, every minute had been planned and rehearsed. Yet despite all the careful preparation, none of the organizers could have predicted the dramatic turn of events that would unfold. Captain Morrison took his position as the royal party prepared to depart. His years of experience had taught him that even the most carefully planned events could take unexpected turns, and his job was to be ready for anything. As they walked toward the waiting vehicles, he noticed the subtle tension between the Queen Consort and the princess, though at the time he attributed it to normal pre-event nerves. The journey to the children's hospital passed quietly, with Charlotte gazing out the window at the crowds that had gathered along the route. The sight of people waiting to catch a glimpse of the royal motorcade never failed to amaze her, and she waved enthusiastically at the children who had been brought by their parents to see the princess. These spontaneous moments of connection with the public represented what Charlotte found most rewarding about her royal duties. Upon arrival at the hospital, the carefully orchestrated reception began flawlessly. Charlotte was greeted by the chief executive and medical director, both of whom were visibly moved by her genuine interest in learning about the facility's work. The princess asked thoughtful questions about the different departments and expressed particular curiosity about the art therapy programs that helped young patients express their emotions during treatment. The first phase of the visit included a tour of the hospital's main lobby, where displays had been set up showing the various ways the facility served its community. Charlotte studied each exhibit carefully, asking questions that demonstrated her understanding of the serious work being done there. Her maturity and genuine compassion impressed everyone present, reinforcing the decision to give her this increased public role. The Queen Consort maintained her position slightly behind Charlotte during these initial interactions, observing her step-granddaughter's performance with what appeared to be growing concern. Palace observers later noted that Camilla seemed increasingly agitated as the visit progressed, though at the time her discomfort was attributed to the emotional nature of visiting seriously ill children. As they moved through the hospital corridors, Charlotte's natural ability to connect with people became evident. She spoke easily with the medical staff, asking about their work and expressing genuine appreciation for their dedication. Her questions demonstrated both intelligence and emotional maturity that impressed everyone present, confirming that the decision to expand her public role had been correct. The media presence throughout the hospital was carefully managed, with photographers positioned to capture the princess's interactions while respecting patient privacy. The images being taken would later be distributed worldwide, showing Charlotte as a compassionate young royal who understood the importance of using her position to help others. These photographs would become part of her growing public image as a caring and engaged member of the royal family. Captain Morrison maintained his protective position throughout the tour, noting the positive response Charlotte was receiving from everyone she met. His experience told him that the visit was proceeding better than expected, with the princess demonstrating remarkable poise for someone so young. The security arrangements were working smoothly, allowing Charlotte the freedom to engage naturally while ensuring her safety remained the top priority. The morning's activities concluded with a visit to the hospital's family lounge, where parents and relatives of patients had gathered to meet the princess. Charlotte spent time speaking with each family, listening to their stories, and offering words of encouragement that seemed far beyond her years. These personal interactions represented the most meaningful aspect of royal visits, creating connections that would be remembered long after the formal ceremonies ended. As they prepared to move to the next phase of the visit, nobody could have anticipated that the carefully planned day was about to take a dramatic and unexpected turn. The stage was set for an incident that would test everyone's professionalism and reveal the true character of those involved in ways that no amount of preparation could have predicted. The children's ward buzzed with anticipation as Princess Charlotte prepared to meet the young patients. The hospital staff had worked tirelessly to create a welcoming environment, decorating the hallways with colorful artwork and ensuring that each child who would interact with the princess felt special and prepared. The ward had been transformed into a celebration of hope and healing, with balloons and handmade banners expressing excitement about the royal visit. Charlotte walked through the corridors with genuine wonder, stopping to admire the drawings that patients had created specifically for her visit. Each piece of artwork told a story of courage and resilience that touched her young heart. She had been briefed about some of the children she would meet, understanding that many were facing serious medical challenges that would test their strength and their family's endurance. The queen consort Camilla followed behind, her demeanor noticeably cooler than it had been during the morning preparations. Palace insiders later revealed that she had been having second thoughts about the wisdom of involving such a young child in what could be emotionally challenging situations. Her concerns, while perhaps well-intentioned, began to manifest as visible disapproval of the entire arrangement. 8-year-old Emma, a patient recovering from a complex heart surgery, had been chosen to present Charlotte with a special bouquet. The little girl had been practicing her curtsy for weeks, determined to make the interaction perfect despite the medical equipment she still needed. Her parents stood nearby, their emotions carefully controlled as they witnessed their daughter's excitement about meeting a real princess. As Charlotte approached Emma's bedside, the genuine warmth between the two children was immediately apparent. Charlotte spoke softly, asking about Emma's artwork that decorated the nearby wall, and expressing sincere interest in the girl's recovery journey. The conversation flowed naturally, with both children laughing at shared jokes that only they seemed to understand. Captain Morrison observed the interaction from his position near the doorway, noting how Charlotte's natural empathy created an atmosphere of comfort that seemed to benefit everyone in the room. His training had taught him to watch for signs of stress or discomfort in his protectees, but Charlotte appeared completely at ease in this environment, confirming his assessment that she was ready for this level of public engagement. The hospital's head of pediatrics, Dr. Sarah Chun, had worked with royal protocols before, but she was particularly impressed by Charlotte's maturity and genuine interest in the medical aspects of patient care. The princess asked thoughtful questions about treatment methods and recovery timelines, demonstrating an understanding that went beyond mere politeness to genuine curiosity about how the hospital helped children heal. Meanwhile, the queen consort's discomfort with the situation continued to grow. She had begun making subtle comments to her lady-in-waiting about the appropriateness of exposing such a young child to the emotional weight of serious illness. Her concerns, while perhaps rooted in protective instincts, began to create a palpable tension that the more perceptive staff members started to notice. The media representatives captured beautiful moments of Charlotte's interactions with the patients, understanding that these images would help highlight the important work of the children's hospital. The photographers worked discreetly, following strict guidelines about patient privacy while documenting the genuine connections being formed between the princess and the children she met. As the visit progressed through different areas of the ward, Charlotte's confidence continued to grow. She had inherited her father's natural ability to connect with people from all backgrounds, and this gift was particularly evident when she interacted with children facing difficult circumstances. Her presence seemed to bring light into rooms that had seen too much worry and fear. 10-year-old Marcus, who was undergoing treatment for a rare autoimmune condition, had prepared a special drawing to give to Charlotte. The artwork depicted a castle surrounded by healing gardens, with figures representing doctors, nurses, and patients working together. When he explained his creation to the princess, his face lit up with pride at her genuine appreciation for his artistic vision. The queen consort's patience appeared to be wearing thin as she watched Charlotte become increasingly emotionally invested in each patient's story. Those close to the royal family later suggested that Camilla felt the young princess was taking on too much emotional burden for someone her age, though others argued that Charlotte's natural compassion was exactly what made her so effective in this role. Dr. Chen introduced Charlotte to the hospital's art therapy program, explaining how creative expression helped children process their medical experiences and maintain emotional health during treatment. Charlotte was fascinated by the concept, spending considerable time examining the various projects and asking detailed questions about how art could aid in healing. The visit to the art therapy room proved particularly meaningful, as Charlotte discovered that many of the children had created works inspired by stories of princesses and fairy tales. The connection between their imagination and her real-life role created a magical atmosphere that seemed to energize everyone present. Several children asked if she would add her own artistic contribution to their collection. Captain Morrison noted the increasing tension between the queen consort the positive atmosphere surrounding Charlotte's interactions. His experience in reading interpersonal dynamics warned him that some kind of conflict might be brewing, though he hoped that professional protocol would prevent any public displays of disagreement. Charlotte's engagement with a 12-year-old patient named Sophie proved particularly touching. Sophie had been receiving treatment for several months and had created an elaborate scrapbook documenting her hospital journey. She shared stories of the medical staff who had become like family, describing how their care and support had helped her maintain hope during the most difficult periods. The princess listened intently to Sophie's stories, asking questions that demonstrated her understanding of the emotional challenges that accompanied medical treatment. Her responses showed wisdom beyond her years, offering encouragement that seemed to genuinely comfort not only Sophie but also her parents, who had been struggling with their own fears and uncertainties. As they prepared to leave the children's ward, Charlotte expressed a desire to visit additional patients who had been too ill to participate in the main activities. This spontaneous request, while touching in its compassion, seemed to further agitate the queen consort, who had been checking her watch frequently and appearing increasingly impatient with the extended timeline. The hospital administration was thrilled with Charlotte's request to meet more patients, understanding that these additional interactions would bring joy to children who rarely received such special attention. However, the scheduling change created logistical challenges that required quick coordination between the Royal Protection Team and hospital security personnel. Captain Morrison worked smoothly with his colleagues to adjust their positioning for the unplanned visits, demonstrating the flexibility and professionalism that made royal protection effective. His team's ability to adapt to changing circumstances while maintaining security protocols showed why they were trusted with such important responsibilities. The queen consort's frustration with the schedule changes became more apparent to those observing her closely. Her body language conveyed impatience and disapproval, though she maintained outward composure as befitted her position. Palace staff later revealed that she had made several sharp comments about the visit running over schedule and the need to maintain better control over Charlotte's activities. Charlotte's visit to the intensive care unit required special precautions, but her genuine desire to bring comfort to the most seriously ill children overcame any logistical obstacles. Dressed in protective gear, she spent time with families facing the most challenging circumstances, offering presence and hope during their darkest moments. The impact of Charlotte's extended visit was evident in the faces of patients, families, and medical staff throughout the hospital. Her willingness to go beyond the planned schedule to reach more children demonstrated a level of commitment and compassion that impressed everyone present. The spontaneous nature of these additional interactions made them even more meaningful. As the morning activities concluded and the royal party prepared for the formal reception, the contrast between Charlotte's energy and enthusiasm and the queen consort's growing irritation had become noticeable to palace observers. The stage was being set for a confrontation that would test everyone's ability to maintain royal dignity under pressure. The hospital's chief executive thanked Charlotte for her extraordinary visit, noting that her genuine care and interest had exceeded all expectations. The princess had not only fulfilled her official duties but had demonstrated a level of personal engagement that would be remembered by everyone present for years to come. Captain Morrison coordinated the transition to the reception area, where dignitaries and major donors to the hospital were waiting to meet the princess. His professional assessment of the morning suggested that Charlotte had handled herself admirably, though he remained concerned about the growing tension he sensed from the queen consort. The formal reception represented the culmination of months of planning, with hospital leadership, local officials, and prominent community members gathered to celebrate the royal visit and the important work of the children's hospital. Charlotte approached this final phase of the visit with the same grace and enthusiasm she had shown throughout the morning, unaware that the day's most challenging moment was about to unfold. The hospital's main reception hall had been transformed into an elegant gathering space where local dignitaries, hospital board members, and major donors waited to meet Princess Charlotte. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over tables arranged with fresh flowers and the hospital's finest china, creating an atmosphere befitting a royal reception. The careful attention to detail reflected the significance everyone placed on this historic visit. Charlotte entered the reception hall with natural grace, her powder blue dress catching the light beautifully as she moved through the room. At 8 years old, she had already mastered the art of making each person feel important during brief conversations, a skill that would serve her well throughout her royal career. Her genuine interest in learning about people's connections to the hospital made every interaction meaningful. The queen consort Camilla followed several steps behind, her expression having grown increasingly stern throughout the morning. Palace sources later revealed that she had been receiving updates about the visit's extended timeline and had expressed concerns to her private secretary about the need to maintain better control over Charlotte's schedule. Her discomfort with the situation had been building throughout the day. Mayor Elizabeth Thompson approached Charlotte with visible excitement, having prepared extensively for this moment. As the first female mayor in the city's history, she understood the importance of strong female role models and was thrilled to meet the young princess. Their conversation about civic responsibility and helping communities flourish showed Charlotte's remarkable understanding of leadership concepts. Captain Morrison positioned himself strategically near the room's main entrance, maintaining visual contact with Charlotte while monitoring the various guests and their interactions with the princess. His experienced eye noted the queen consort's increasing agitation, though he attributed it to the normal stress of managing complex royal engagements rather than anticipating the dramatic turn events would soon take. The hospital's head of fundraising, Patricia Wells, had arranged for several major donors to meet Charlotte personally, understanding that such interactions often led to increased philanthropic support. Each conversation provided an opportunity to highlight the hospital's critical work and the difference that charitable contributions made in the lives of sick children and their families. Charlotte's natural curiosity led her to ask detailed questions about how donations were used to improve patient care. Her understanding of the connection between community support and medical outcomes impressed the adults present, who marveled at her maturity and genuine interest in making a difference. These conversations demonstrated why the royal family's involvement in charitable work remains so important. Dr. Richardson, the hospital's chief of surgery, spoke with Charlotte about the advanced medical equipment that donations had helped purchase. The princess listened intently as he explained how new technology enabled doctors to perform less invasive procedures that helped children heal faster and return to normal activities sooner. Her questions showed genuine comprehension of complex medical concepts. The queen consort's patience finally reached its breaking point when Charlotte began discussing the possibility of making the children's hospital one of her primary charitable focuses. Camilla had been standing nearby, listening to conversations that seemed to be extending far beyond what she considered appropriate for such a young child. Her protective instincts, combined with concerns about proper protocol, created a volatile emotional state. Charlotte was engaged in an animated conversation with the hospital's child life specialist when she noticed a beautiful butterfly that had somehow found its way into the reception hall. Her childlike wonder at the delicate creature caused her to step quickly toward the large windows where it had landed, wanting to get a closer look at its colorful wings. In her excitement to see the butterfly, Charlotte moved more quickly than usual, causing the delicate fabric of her dress to catch on a nearby chair. The sound of tearing fabric was barely audible above the conversation in the room, but Charlotte immediately felt the dress pull awkwardly around her shoulders. She paused, trying to assess what had happened without drawing attention to the problem. The queen consort noticed Charlotte's distress immediately and moved swiftly toward her, but instead of offering assistance, her accumulated frustration from the day's events erupted in an unexpected way. Camilla reached for the damaged area of the dress, attempting to examine the extent of the tear, but her handling of the delicate fabric was far from gentle. In her agitated state, Camilla's grip on the dress was forceful and impatient. What began as an attempt to assess the damage quickly became something much more troubling as she pulled at the fabric in apparent frustration. The sound of additional tearing echoed through the nearby area as the dress suffered further damage under her rough handling. Charlotte's face registered shock and confusion as she felt her special dress being damaged further. The young princess had been so proud of her appearance that morning, understanding that the beautiful gown represented her growing importance within the royal family. Now she watched in dismay as the fabric that had been carefully crafted for this special day was being destroyed before her eyes. Captain Morrison's training immediately kicked in as he recognized that a situation requiring intervention was developing. His position near the entrance gave him a clear view of what was happening, and his protective instincts told him that Charlotte needed assistance. He began moving toward the princess while maintaining the discretion required in such delicate family situations. The guests nearest to Charlotte and Camilla began to notice that something was wrong, though the exact nature of the problem remained unclear to most observers. The conversations in that section of the room grew quieter as people sensed tension but struggled to understand what they were witnessing. The elegant atmosphere of the reception began to shift as uncomfortable energy spread through the gathering. Hospital Administrator Margaret Foster was among the first to realize that the royal family was experiencing some kind of difficulty. Her years of experience managing high-profile events had taught her to watch for signs of distress, and she immediately began moving toward Charlotte while signaling to her staff to be ready to provide assistance if needed. Charlotte attempted to step away from Camilla's grip on her dress, but the queen consort's hold only tightened. The fabric continued to tear as Charlotte tried to free herself, creating an increasingly distressing situation for the young princess. Her usual composure began to crack as she realized that her beautiful dress was being ruined in front of all the important people she had been so eager to impress. The butterfly that had initially captured Charlotte's attention continued to flutter near the windows, oblivious to the human drama unfolding below. Its delicate beauty created a stark contrast to the harsh reality of the confrontation developing between the queen consort and the 8-year-old princess, highlighting the innocence that was being damaged along with the dress. Dr. Sarah Chun noticed the disturbance and began moving closer, her medical training making her sensitive to signs of distress in children. She could see that Charlotte was becoming increasingly upset, and her protective instincts as a pediatrician made her want to intervene on behalf of the young girl who had brought so much joy to her patients earlier in the day. The queen consort's actions seemed to surprise even herself as she realized how forcefully she had been handling Charlotte's dress. However, instead of immediately releasing her grip and apologizing, she appeared to become more determined to control the situation. Her words, though spoken quietly, carried a sharp tone that conveyed displeasure with Charlotte's behavior and the entire day's proceedings. Captain Morrison reached the scene just as Charlotte's distress became visible to anyone watching closely. His training in crisis management told him that immediate action was necessary to protect the princess from further emotional and physical harm. The situation had evolved beyond a simple wardrobe malfunction into something requiring professional intervention. The damage to Charlotte's dress had become extensive, with tears running from the shoulder area down toward the bodice. The beautiful embroidered flowers that had been so carefully applied by skilled artisans now hung loose and disheveled. What had begun as a minor snag had evolved into a costume crisis that threatened to overshadow the entire visit's positive impact. Charlotte's eyes filled with tears as she realized the full extent of the damage to her special dress. The garment that had represented her growing maturity and importance within the royal family now served as evidence of a confrontation that she didn't fully understand. Her distress was compounded by the public nature of the incident and her awareness that people were watching. The conversations throughout the reception hall had now largely stopped as more guests became aware that something significant was happening near the windows. The hospital staff exchanged concerned glances, uncertain about how to respond to a situation involving senior members of the royal family. The careful planning that had gone into every detail of the visit had not included protocols for managing this type of interpersonal conflict. Captain Morrison assessed the situation quickly, understanding that his role extended beyond physical protection to include safeguarding Charlotte's dignity and emotional well-being. The incident was threatening to become a public relations disaster that could overshadow the positive work the princess had accomplished throughout the day. Immediate action was required to prevent further escalation and protect Charlotte from additional distress. The queen consort finally released her grip on Charlotte's dress, but the damage had been done both to the garment and to the atmosphere of the reception. The visible evidence of their confrontation could not be easily concealed, and Charlotte's emotional distress was becoming apparent to anyone observing closely. The situation required skilled management to prevent it from becoming a scandal that could harm both their reputations. As Captain Morrison approached, he quickly evaluated his options for protecting Charlotte while maintaining the discretion necessary when dealing with sensitive royal family matters. His years of experience had prepared him for many challenges, but managing a confrontation between family members in such a public setting required particular delicacy and wisdom. Captain Morrison moved with calculated precision toward Princess Charlotte, his years of training guiding every step as he assessed the escalating situation. His approach was measured and professional, designed to provide assistance without creating additional drama or embarrassing any member of the royal family. The delicate nature of intervening in a family conflict required all his diplomatic skills, while maintaining his primary duty of protecting the princess. Charlotte stood frozen near the windows, her damaged dress hanging awkwardly around her small frame while tears threatened to spill from her eyes. The 8-year-old princess struggled to understand why her step-grandmother had treated her so roughly, particularly on a day that had been filled with such positive interactions and meaningful connections. Her confusion was evident to anyone observing her closely. The queen consort remained nearby, her expression showing a mixture of frustration and what might have been regret as she realized the extent of the damage she had caused. The elegant reception hall, which moments before had been filled with pleasant conversation and celebration, now hummed with uncomfortable tension as guests tried to process what they had witnessed. Captain Morrison's approach was carefully orchestrated to appear natural while positioning himself between Charlotte and any potential further confrontation. His protective stance was subtle but unmistakable to those trained to recognize security protocols. Years of experience had taught him that the most effective protection often came through presence rather than dramatic action. "Your Royal Highness," Captain Morrison said quietly as he reached Charlotte's side, his voice calm and reassuring despite the tension of the moment. "Perhaps we might step aside for a moment to address the dress situation." His words were chosen carefully to acknowledge the immediate problem while offering Charlotte an escape from the uncomfortable public attention. Charlotte looked up at Captain Morrison with evident relief, recognizing a friendly face and professional competence in a moment when she felt vulnerable and confused. Her trust in the palace security team had been built over months of interaction, and she instinctively understood that he was there to help her navigate this difficult situation with dignity intact. The hospital's senior staff members had begun to notice the disturbance, though most remained uncertain about the appropriate response when witnessing what appeared to be a disagreement between members of the royal family. Their training in hosting high-profile events had not included protocols for managing such delicate interpersonal conflicts among their distinguished guests. Margaret Foster, the hospital administrator, approached the group with professional concern, understanding that the situation required careful handling to protect both the royal family's privacy and the hospital's reputation. Her years of experience managing complex events had taught her the importance of discreet problem-solving when dealing with sensitive situations involving prominent figures. "Is there anything we can do to assist?" Margaret asked quietly, directing her question primarily to Captain Morrison while maintaining respectful awareness of both royal ladies present. Her offer was genuine and practical, reflecting the hospital's commitment to ensuring their royal guests felt supported throughout their visit. Captain Morrison appreciated the hospital administrator's professional approach to the situation. "Thank you," he replied with quiet authority. Perhaps there might be a private area where Princess Charlotte could have a moment to compose herself and address her wardrobe concern. His request was diplomatic while making it clear that Charlotte's well-being was his immediate priority. The queen consort watched these interactions with an expression that seemed to shift between defensiveness and growing awareness of how her actions might be perceived. The reality of having damaged Charlotte's dress in such a public setting began to register, along with the potential implications for both her reputation and her relationship with the young princess. Dr. Sarah Chun had been observing from nearby and felt compelled to offer assistance, her natural instinct to help children in distress overriding protocol considerations. As a pediatrician, she recognized signs of emotional upset in Charlotte and wanted to ensure the young girl felt supported during what was clearly a difficult moment. "We have a private family consultation room just down the corridor," Dr. Chun offered, addressing Captain Morrison while giving Charlotte an encouraging smile. "It's quiet and comfortable, and we could certainly find someone to help with any clothing repairs if needed." Her suggestion provided a practical solution while demonstrating the hospital staff's genuine care for their young royal visitor. Charlotte nodded gratefully at the suggestion, her relief evident at the prospect of escaping the curious glances of reception guests who had begun to notice something unusual was happening. The idea of a quiet space where she could assess the damage and perhaps find a solution appealed to her natural problem-solving instincts. Captain Morrison placed a gentle but protective hand on Charlotte's shoulder, a gesture that conveyed both guidance and security. "That sounds like an excellent suggestion," he said, beginning to escort Charlotte toward the exit while maintaining awareness of the queen consort's position and the other guests' reactions to their departure. As they moved through the reception hall, Captain Morrison's professional demeanor and Charlotte's composed behavior helped minimize the attention their exit attracted. His skill in managing delicate situations showed in his ability to make their departure appear routine rather than dramatic, protecting Charlotte's dignity while addressing her immediate needs. The hospital's head seamstress, Mary Patterson, was quickly summoned when word reached the staff about the princess's wardrobe emergency. With over 20 years of experience in clothing alterations and repairs, Mary understood the importance of discretion when dealing with such situations. She gathered her supplies and headed toward the consultation room, determined to help restore Charlotte's appearance. In the private consultation room, Charlotte finally allowed her emotions to show more freely, though she maintained the composure that had been instilled in her through royal training. Captain Morrison's presence provided comfort and security, allowing her to process what had happened while feeling protected from further distress. "I don't understand why she was so angry," Charlotte confided to Captain Morrison, her young voice carrying confusion and hurt. "I was trying to be good and do everything right. I just wanted to see the butterfly." Her innocent explanation highlighted the disconnect between her childlike wonder and the adult tensions that had created the conflict. Captain Morrison knelt down to Charlotte's eye level, his expression kind but serious. "Your Royal Highness, sometimes adults have complicated feelings that have nothing to do with anything you've done wrong," he explained gently. "You were absolutely wonderful today, and everyone who met you was impressed by your kindness and maturity." The seamstress arrived and immediately assessed the damage to Charlotte's dress with professional efficiency. While the tears were significant, her experienced eye could see ways to repair the garment that would make it presentable for the remainder of the visit. Her calm competence helped reassure Charlotte that the situation could be managed. "We can definitely fix this, Your Royal Highness," Mary said with confidence as she examined the torn fabric. "It might take a few minutes, but we can make it look almost as good as new. The embroidery can be repositioned to cover the repair areas." Her practical optimism helped lift Charlotte's spirits considerably. While Mary worked on the dress repairs, Captain Morrison coordinated with his security team to adjust the remainder of the visit schedule. His priority was ensuring Charlotte felt comfortable and confident before returning to the public portion of the reception, understanding that her emotional state was as important as her physical safety. The Queen Consort had remained in the reception hall, engaging in stilted conversation with hospital officials while dealing with her own reaction to what had transpired. Several guests had approached her with polite inquiries about Charlotte's well-being, forcing her to maintain composure while privately grappling with the implications of her behavior. Hospital staff members discreetly managed the situation in the reception hall, ensuring that conversations continued and that the absence of the princess didn't create an uncomfortable atmosphere. Their professional handling of the situation demonstrated why the facility had been chosen for such an important royal visit. As Mary completed the dress repairs with remarkable skill, Charlotte's confidence began to return. The garment, while not quite as pristine as it had been that morning, was certainly presentable and still beautiful. The princess examined her reflection in the consultation room's mirror, practicing her smile and preparing to return to her public duties. Captain Morrison observed Charlotte's resilience with professional admiration and personal respect. Her ability to recover from the distressing incident while maintaining focus on her responsibilities to the hospital and its patients demonstrated maturity that exceeded her years. His protective instincts remained heightened, but his confidence in her ability to complete the visit successfully had been reinforced. "Are you ready to return to the reception, Your Royal Highness?" Captain Morrison asked, giving Charlotte the opportunity to determine her own comfort level with resuming public activities. His approach respected her autonomy while ensuring she felt fully supported in whatever decision she made. Charlotte straightened her shoulders and lifted her chin with determination that reflected her royal heritage and personal strength. "Yes, I'm ready," she replied with renewed confidence. "The people at the hospital have been so kind to me today. I want to make sure they know how much I appreciate everything they do for children who need help." Her response demonstrated that despite the difficult experience with the Queen Consort, Charlotte's focus remained on fulfilling her responsibilities and honoring the meaningful connections she had made throughout the day. Captain Morrison felt proud of her resilience and impressed by her commitment to service despite personal adversity. Princess Charlotte's return to the reception hall marked a turning point in the day's events. Her composed entrance, despite the earlier distressing incident, demonstrated a resilience that impressed everyone present. Captain Morrison walked beside her, his protective presence serving as both security and moral support as she prepared to continue fulfilling her royal duties with dignity and grace. The guests in the reception hall welcomed Charlotte's return with warm smiles and genuine relief. Many had sensed that something concerning had occurred, and her confident reappearance helped restore the positive atmosphere that had characterized most of the visit. The seamstress's skillful repairs to her dress were virtually undetectable, allowing Charlotte to focus on her interactions rather than worrying about her appearance. Margaret Foster, the hospital administrator, approached Charlotte with professional warmth and personal concern. "Your Royal Highness, we're so pleased to have you back with us," she said with genuine feeling. "The children's artwork display is ready for your viewing, and several young patients have created special pieces they're excited to show you." Her invitation provided Charlotte with an opportunity to engage in activities she truly enjoyed. The children's artwork display had been arranged in a quiet corner of the reception hall, creating an intimate space where Charlotte could interact with the creative expressions of young patients without the pressure of formal protocol. Each piece told a story of courage, hope, and healing that resonated deeply with the princess's compassionate nature. Charlotte's examination of the artwork was thorough and genuine, her questions about technique and inspiration demonstrating sincere interest in each child's creative process. Her ability to discuss art meaningfully with both the young artists and the hospital's art therapy staff showed a depth of understanding that impressed the adults present while delighting the children who had created the pieces. Captain Morrison maintained his watchful position nearby, noting how Charlotte's natural enthusiasm for connecting with others helped her move past the earlier incident. His professional assessment confirmed that she had recovered her equilibrium and was once again functioning effectively in her royal role. The crisis had been successfully managed without lasting damage to her confidence or public image. The Queen Consort remained in the reception hall but maintained considerable distance from Charlotte's activities. Her interactions with other guests appeared strained, and palace observers later noted that she seemed to be grappling with the implications of her behavior. The contrast between her subdued demeanor and Charlotte's renewed energy was apparent to those monitoring the royal family's dynamics. Dr. Richardson approached Charlotte with news that several young patients who had been too ill to participate in the morning activities were now feeling well enough to meet her briefly. His invitation represented an opportunity for Charlotte to extend her compassionate outreach to children who needed encouragement most, and her immediate acceptance demonstrated her genuine commitment to the hospital's mission. The brief visits to additional patient rooms proved deeply meaningful for both Charlotte and the children she met. Her willingness to spend extra time despite the day's complications showed a dedication to service that went beyond mere protocol compliance. These spontaneous interactions often created the most memorable moments of royal visits, touching lives in ways that formal ceremonies could not achieve. 8-year-old Daniel, who was recovering from a complex neurological procedure, presented Charlotte with a hand-drawn picture of a princess visiting a castle filled with healing gardens. His explanation of the artwork revealed his understanding that princesses could be real people who cared about helping others, a perspective that had been shaped by Charlotte's visit to the hospital. Charlotte's response to Daniel's gift was heartfelt and age-appropriate, creating a moment of genuine connection that demonstrated why royal visits to children's hospitals remained so important. Her ability to communicate naturally with young patients while maintaining awareness of their medical situations showed emotional intelligence that impressed the healthcare professionals observing their interactions. The final phase of Charlotte's visit included a brief ceremony where she was presented with a commemorative book containing photographs and messages from patients, families, and staff members. The book represented the collective gratitude of the hospital community and would serve as a lasting reminder of the positive impact her visit had created despite the day's challenges. Captain Morrison coordinated the departure preparations while ensuring that Charlotte had adequate time to complete her interactions without feeling rushed. His management of the transition demonstrated his understanding that royal duties required balancing protocol requirements with genuine human connections. The princess's emotional well-being remained his primary concern throughout these final activities. The media representatives present captured Charlotte's gracious acceptance of the commemorative book and her warm farewells to hospital staff members. These images would later be distributed globally, showing a young princess who had successfully navigated challenging circumstances while maintaining focus on her charitable mission. The positive coverage helped ensure that the day's meaningful achievements overshadowed any temporary difficulties. As the royal party prepared to leave the hospital, Charlotte took a moment to thank each staff member personally for their kindness and professionalism throughout her visit. Her genuine appreciation for their efforts to make her feel welcome demonstrated maturity and graciousness that exceeded her chronological age. These personal acknowledgments meant a great deal to employees who had worked hard to ensure the visit's success. The journey back to Buckingham Palace provided time for reflection on the day's events. Charlotte sat quietly in the vehicle, processing the various experiences she had encountered during her first major solo charitable engagement. Her resilience in overcoming the dress incident while maintaining focus on helping others had been tested and proven strong. Captain Morrison used the travel time to debrief with his security team and coordinate with palace staff about the day's outcomes. His professional report would emphasize Charlotte's successful completion of her duties despite unexpected challenges, noting her composure under pressure and her natural ability to connect with people from diverse backgrounds. The Queen Consort traveled separately, her own reflection on the day's events likely involving consideration of how her behavior might affect her relationship with Charlotte and her standing within the royal family. The incident had created a situation that would require careful management to prevent lasting damage to family relationships or public perception. Upon arrival at Buckingham Palace, Charlotte was greeted by her parents, who had been briefed about the day's events, including both the positive achievements and the concerning incident. Their priority was ensuring that Charlotte felt supported and proud of her accomplishments while addressing any emotional impact from the confrontation with Camilla. The palace's communications team worked efficiently to prepare statements about the visit that would emphasize the positive impact on the hospital and patients while addressing any media inquiries about the dress incident. Their goal was to protect both Charlotte and the Queen Consort while maintaining transparency about the royal family's charitable work. Charlotte's reflection on her first major solo engagement revealed a young girl who had discovered her own strength and resilience in challenging circumstances. The experience had taught her that royal duty sometimes involved overcoming personal difficulties while maintaining focus on serving others. These lessons would prove valuable throughout her future royal career. The hospital's feedback about Charlotte's visit was overwhelmingly positive, with staff members and patients alike praising her genuine warmth and maturity. The positive impact on morale and the increased attention to the facility's important work demonstrated why royal patronage remained valuable for charitable organizations. The day's achievements far outweighed its temporary difficulties. Captain Morrison's final report on the visit highlighted Charlotte's exceptional performance under pressure and her natural aptitude for royal duties. His recommendation that she be given additional opportunities for public engagement reflected his professional assessment that she possessed the emotional intelligence and resilience necessary for increased responsibilities within the royal family. The incident with the Queen Consort, while regrettable, had ultimately served to demonstrate Charlotte's character and Captain Morrison's protective skills. Their successful management of a difficult situation strengthened the working relationship between the princess and her security team while proving that challenges could be overcome through professionalism, compassion, and mutual respect. The evening's reflection at Buckingham Palace included discussions about future engagements and the lessons learned from Charlotte's first solo charitable visit. The consensus among palace staff was that the princess had exceeded expectations and demonstrated readiness for expanded public duties. The day's events had revealed both her vulnerabilities and her strengths, providing valuable insight for planning her continued development as a working member of the royal family. The story of Charlotte's visit to the Children's Hospital would be remembered not for the temporary dress incident, but for her compassionate interactions with young patients and her gracious professionalism throughout challenging circumstances. Her ability to overcome adversity while maintaining focus on serving others had established her as a genuine asset to the royal family's charitable mission and a worthy representative of the monarchy's commitment to public service.